Welcome to the Multi-Family Zone, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneur life looks like from the family perspective. Now here are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro.
Hey everyone, this is Julia Barbaro, host of the Multi-Family Zone podcast. I am here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host, Gino Barbaro.
Hi, Julia.
Hey, Gino.
What are we talking about today?
Well, you wanted to talk about being a great dad.
Talk about being a great dad. I don't know if I am a great dad. So the title of this show is Why You Need to Be a Strong Father. And this is for all the dads out there who are wavering, who aren't doing what they're supposed to do. I'm going to give some statistics real quick to see how detrimental it is if you are not a strong authority figure, if you're not a strong figure in your daughter's life. It's crucial. There's never too late. You can always reconnect with your daughter. Obviously, when she's growing up and she's little, she's going to have that map of you. And real quick, everybody, if you want your daughter to marry a great person, a great guy, you have to be that great guy because you're the first role model in their life. You're going to be with them forever. So you have to be that role model for them.
Yeah, you're their first love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that sweet? Yeah, no, and I want to talk too about just how we as wives, as mothers, just as women can support men and just, just remind them that we need them to be great dads and great husbands, just great men in our life. And we need that. We need to encourage them. And it's so important right now that we do that.
So these are some statistics that I've gotten from the U.S. Census Bureau. And for me, we are going through a current pandemic. But guess what? This pandemic will go away. We'll either find a vaccine, it'll burn itself out. It's just going to go away. But the pandemic that we're going through right now, we've gone through for the past few decades and is continuing, is the single family home pandemic where dads aren't in the household. There's no role models for these kids. 63% of the suicides are from single family homes. 75% are from chemical dependency. In 2009, 37% of single family homes are living in poverty, as opposed to 6.8% in a dual household. 90% of all homeless and runaway children are from single family homes. 71% of high school dropouts. 85% of all youths in prisons. Now, I'm giving you these statistics because this has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with color. It has to do with a father not being in the home and a father not being present. And I'm not excusing any fathers out there that are divorced because you can still be in your kid's life. You divorced the woman. Has nothing to do with your children. And what makes it even worse is that our kids look at that and say that they're blaming themselves for that. So you have to continue to reassure them that it's not their fault, that you and your wife just didn't get along and it was better that you live separate lives, but you have to be in their life. They're still under your care. You are still their biggest role model.
Gino, the question really is what can we do as the wife, as the mother? And the best thing that I could do for you is to support you. We're so different. Being a mother, being a father, you cannot replace either of them. You have something to offer the children that I do not, and vice versa. And so for me, we have the little kids, we raise them all the time. We're always together with them. And so when I see you come in and start playing with the kids or start taking care of the kids, it's naturally going to be different. And my first reaction is to fix it, is to fix you, is to say, no, that's not how they like to be played with. That's not what they like to eat. That's not. And I have to remember to back off. And it's so hard. And it probably took me many, many years to do that. But it's so important that I show the kids that we are different. We love them differently. And that's just natural. And so dad's going to do things that I don't. And that's okay. So for me to hover over you and to tell you how to do things is wrong of me, but it's really challenging not to do it. It's just that instinct to protect your kids. You know what I mean? So that's a challenge, but it took me a while and I figured it out. I just have to step back and enjoy the fact that you guys play differently together, that you talk differently with them, and I love that. But it took me a while. And so, if people out there are struggling with that, it will take a little bit, but it's so worth it because then you see their relationship flourish and it's beautiful.
So I mentioned about being the role model. How do you interact with your wife? Your kids see everything you do, how you talk, how you yell, how you hug each other, how you kiss each other. There was a point for the last couple of years that me and my wife would, hug and kiss, and one of the kids would run up to us and go, love. And you know who you are, Veronica. And that's a positive role model. That's what they have to see. They have to see the love between father, between a husband and a wife, because then she'll say, wow, that's the person I want to marry. I want to marry someone who's in love with me, who's going to take care of me, who cherishes me, who puts me up on a pedestal, who makes me feel great, who protects me. So be careful how you interact in front of your wife. Maybe it's time, you dads out there, step up your game and really pay attention to how you speak to your wife, how you treat your wife. Maybe I should be doing this too, huh?
I love this podcast. I was afraid at first. I was like, oh, okay, sure. Okay,
wow, I got to watch out. That's what I'm saying. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm just joking. Really, you have to work on that. And it's true. And I never thought about it until she kept running up to me and kept doing that. And I can see the way she looks at me. She looks at me with that love in her eyes. And she's like, I can see that I'm her role model. Be role models. If you want to be loving, if you want to be generous, do things like that. What we would do is, for the last 15 or 16 years, we've been going down to the Friar in Harlem. And now when we do that, I want to teach my kids gratitude. I want to teach my kids about giving. We go down every year. They understand that's part of our lives. So they know that that's what part of our belief system is. That is incorporated into their lives. So if you want your kids to be like you and to be great, do great things. Be the role model.
It's funny because sometimes we get caught up into helping other people, being super nice and generous to all those other people. And we do kind of neglect the closest ones to us. And so here we are giving and showing love and all that stuff outside the home. And we forget about those in the home. And so, there is a saying out there, and it's beautiful. It says the best thing a father can do is to love their child's mother. And that is so important because, like Gino was saying, when they grow up, they're going to look for a husband and probably just like you. So who is that you? And who is that person that they're going to attract? It's someone like their father. And it's so important to be that, we're not perfect because it's just not possible, but is as good as you can be.
It has nothing to do with perfection. It has to do with spending time with the kids and listening to the kids. So our job, I think the first priority that we have is to protect our children at all costs. So I know my kids know that they feel protected and they feel safe around me. And that's how they should feel around all men. And that's why I want them to marry men who will make them feel that way, who will put them up above anything else and will protect them. And the other thing is with my kids, each one of my children, they have their own nicknames. So I have 5 daughters. So for me, there's a lot of love going around, but I have to spend time with them individually and I have to give them their own individual time. And it's pretty hard to convince each one of them that I'm their favorite. They're my favorites because they're all my favorites in all different categories. So it's really important. I have nicknames for every single one of them. And I love that. And as we get on in the relationships, it just changes as they get older. But I think deep down inside, they know that they can come to me if they have issues or problems.
There was something that happened just recently, and I just wanted to share it with you, all of you, really, Gino included. So our daughter, who is 20, she'll be 21. She was supposed to go on a 6-week camp, right? She was going to be a camp counselor for this religious camp up in Georgia, and it was canceled. And it was traumatizing to her because she really was looking forward to it. And I deep down, I knew it was going to be canceled, but it was, and she was devastated. And I have to tell you that my husband went in her room and sat on her bed and was like, wow, this really stinks. He probably used other words, but that's what I heard. and that's all he said. And he just sat there. And when my daughter was telling me the story, it was interesting because she said it was a little awkward at first because he didn't say anything after that. but he just was present and he was just there. He wasn't there for advice. He didn't have anything else to say. He didn't just have to say, it'll be another opportunity. Don't worry about it. Other things will come away, all that stuff, because sometimes we don't need to hear that. Sometimes the kids need to hear us sit there and listen and say, you know what, I'm really sorry. This is a bad situation. And that's it. They don't want advice all the time. They don't want to be told it's going to be okay, be told that you have another opportunity. So Gino was just there and sat there. And my daughter was like, wow, it was really nice. She's like, he's never done that before. It was a little uncomfortable, but I was really grateful. And so, it's one of those things. It took a long time for him to figure out that sometimes that's what the older kids need. They just need our presence. They just need us to sit there and listen to them.
Well, I think more than anything, I think she knows now that I'll be there for anything, for everything, whatever she needs. I'll always be there. I want to be the part of the rock in her life. So that's why it just came to me. It dawned on me like, I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers for my own life, right? But she can always come to me and tell me that. And I think back at what my mom used to say when she was in Italy years and years ago. They were really poor back then. Basically, that's why they came to America. They couldn't, uh, feed themselves practically there. So back in the 60s, they came here. And there's a difference between being poor there and being poor here in a lot of instances. There, they had family. There, they could always rely on somebody to give them something. Here, the families are so disjointed and there's no family unity anymore. You have no one to lean on. You have no one to ask questions. You have no one to ask for help. Back then, they always helped each other out in those little towns and they were always around. And that's the difference. That's what families should be there for. That's what dads should be there for, just to give a helping hand to their daughters. And that's all I was trying to do in that instance is like, it does suck. And I told her that like 3 days later, I'm like, you know what? Sort of glad that you're not going because you're home for another 6 weeks. So I know she knows that. And she's 20 years old and she could stay with us for as long as she wants. I love her being home. This shutdown has been great for me in one way because I've got my whole family home. We're home all the time, every day, and I love it. And I think the kids really like it. We eat every single meal together. We watch TV at night together. We pray together. We go for walks together. For me, I really love it. But I say, hey, there's always a flip side to it. For me, you're not going and I wanted you to go and maybe you'll go next year. I didn't mention that to her, but obviously she'll go next year.
But the point is that she knew that. And I think that when they're little, they need to hear that because we're kind of guiding them on what to expect. If you don't get something right now, you'll get it eventually. But at some point they grow up. And at some point that you have to let them be the adults. Let them be responsible and know they know that there's going to be opportunity. Of course they know that, but to be told that as an older person is so irritating sometimes.
But put yourself in her situation or any daughter's situation as they get older. They always know in the back of their minds that they have an advocate. They always have somebody that loves them, that will always be thinking about them, and they can always turn to. How much confidence and how powerful and how high is your self-esteem when you have that person in your life? And then when you go out and you look for somebody to get married to, that's the person that you're looking for. And when you look for something like that, you're going to attract something like that because that's what you're looking for. Your RAS. You know what RAS stands for? Reticular activating system. So basically, you got to highlight whatever you're focusing on is you're going to attract that. So if you're looking for that type of person, you're going to find that type of person.
Yeah. We need, as the mom, as the wife, as the woman, we need you men to be our protectors, to be the protectors in the home. There's nothing wrong. A lot of people will yell at me to say that, but that's just the reality. We need you to be the head of the house. We're the heart of the house. You're the head of the house. We're working together. There's no you are better than me. It's just we're working together. We have different roles. Mothers and fathers have different roles in the house. We need to support them. Like you said before, you're the rock of the family. And I need that. I need to support that. I need to, you're the strength. We need that. The family needs that. And the girl, especially the girls, need to see that in the men because there's a skewed version of skewed thought of men these days that is killing me. And I see it in like a lot of the shows on TV where the man is like the dopey, dorky guy and the woman, I just, what I'm talking about. We need to bring back the fathers in the house.
Not in this household.
Tough guy.
There's another thing when we talk about love. And, I grew up in a household. My mom was very loving. My dad wasn't loving in that respect where always give me kisses, always give me hugs, but I knew he loved me just by his actions. But I think daughters need to be hugged when they're really young. You need to hug your daughter. You need to kiss your daughter. You brush your teeth every day.
Not really young always.
You, huh?
They always need that.
I'm saying
Yes.
start out when they're really
Right.
young,
But even if your daughters are older,
and
doesn't matter.
but then it becomes,
always.
what I'm trying to say is
Yes.
it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
So it's like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
As you start when they're younger, they need that physical attraction. They need that touch. They need to know, and that kiss and that hug. I love it every day, and I use my nicknames. So show it by your actions. And way as husbands and men do it, we don't really voice it or use it vocally, right? Because our actions speak louder than our words. That's what we're taught in society. So my actions are, I'm going to go to work. I suffered at work. I love the quote of the hero in the book, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. The hero is doing what is right, even in the midst of anguish. Doing what is right, even in the midst of anguish. For me, all those years going to work at the restaurant, going to work on the weekends, going to work at the holidays, missing all of those events, that was really a lot of anguish for me. But my actions were telling my kids that I really love you. I'm sacrificing it. They might not know it when they're younger, but as they get older, they're gonna be like, wow, dad really put out a lot. But you know what? Actions maybe speak louder than words, but words are really powerful too. Use the words, I love you. Use the words, I cherish you. Use the words, you're the most important thing in my life. Use the words, I'd rather be doing nothing else other than this. Use the words that I love to say, this is the best part of my day. They'll love that, because all of a sudden it's all about them. The quality and focusing on them and using that love to them is really important.
And remember, it's, especially in our life, in our family, when we first had children, I took care of the kids, he went to work, and that's just what it was. And there was a little bit of a disconnect because it was new. We're not really taught how to parent. It's kind of like trial and error, which is too bad, but that's just the way it is. But that's how you learn how to be a parent. That's how you learn, by your mistakes. Sorry, Gabriella, we made a lot of mistakes. Gabriella and Michael, they're two oldest, but they know that they're loved, and it's different as each kid is different as it comes, and you learn more. And so I see the difference between our first few and then our last few and my husband's fathering. It's very different, but it's really beautiful to watch from the beginning to the end, because I let him be himself at one point. I wasn't trying to control it. I let him be the father that he knew how to be. And I supported it instead of fighting it. And that's really important on our part, is just to encourage them to do more, encourage them to, go out more together, just to bond more. But remember, they're going to be different. It's going to be different. Their bonding and your bonding is so different.
Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors.
At Rand Capital, we're focused on providing the best financing option for each deal and every client. Our personalized service, along with our blue-collar work ethic, will give you the peace of mind to know that we will take the stress out of the financing process so that you can focus on other aspects of your business. For more information and to find out how Rand Capital can help you find the best loan for your deal, visit randcapllc.com to start the conversation.
So one of the reasons why I got better as a father later on, and as I've grown, is I've gotten more patient. And that was really important. When I was younger, I was, first of all, listening to everybody else and thinking what everyone else did was right and what we were wrong, right? You're trying to listen to people who have a little bit of experience, but we have all our own different ways of doing things. We were homeschooling. Very few people homeschooled. We had births at home. Very few people did that. So we were different. We slept with our kids. Very few people did that. I think the kids turned out fine. I think they turned out right. And I think the kids, they know that they're loved more than anything else. That's the most important thing. That's like the theme of what I want to get across in this podcast. As being a strong father, you have to show your love, but also at sometimes you have to put your foot down and you have to do things that are very unpopular. Like if you have a 16-year-old daughter and there's a curfew, you have to be home at 10 o'clock. And if she can't, then you have to be the authority figure and you have to tell her you're punished, or I'm not giving the keys to the car, or whatever that may be. And she may hate you in the short term, but what it's telling her in the long run is that dad's there, dad's paying attention. Can you imagine if she blows her curfew all the time and you don't even say anything to her? You don't even care. If you're in a business setting and you have a meeting at 2:00 and somebody doesn't show up, are you going to reprimand that person? Yes. If you're not even paying attention to your daughter, what kind of signals that send to you? You have to understand that a person's brain is not developed to make these cognitive decisions until they're in their 20s. That's why teenagers may seem crazy. They don't make the right decisions. We're there to teach them to make those right decisions because their brains aren't fully formed yet. They do a lot of stupid things. I mean, people in their 30s and 40s, hello, me included, still do stupid things. Can you imagine somebody who's a teenager who doesn't have life experience? We know what can happen. They don't have the life experience. When you go to a party and there's people drinking, it's only 3 or 4 beers, I can drive home. We know that that's not right. But someone who's a teenager that doesn't know that, and that falls upon you as a father to be the authority figure. And like I said, do what is right, even in the midst of anguish, even though they may hate you. Is she wearing something inappropriate? Say something. Make sure you let it known. A lot of girls will strike out against their dads and get tattoos or get ears pierced because they want that love. They want to be heard or to be seen. Make sure you tell them what's right and wrong. Make sure you're the authority figure in their life.
It sounds like you're looking for respect, right? Respect from the child, as far as, being obedient and all that stuff. There is respect out of love, and then there's respect out of fear. And it's important to see the difference. You want your child wants to please you.
So you don't want to be Saddam Hussein then? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't want to be a parent like Saddam Hussein, right? You don't want to
That's
be around.
a good point.
Okay. Just saying.
To respect out of love, the kid, like I said, the children they want to obey us. They want to please us. They want to please the fathers out there. And so it's one of those things. What's your reaction? Are you punishing them and they're afraid of you? That's different. Instead of there's something about Veronica, our daughter. She's 11, and she always wants to please her dad. And when she does something that makes him happy, the way she looks at him is just, I can't even describe it because I've never seen it from another person before. It's pure love, and it's incredible, and it's beautiful. And that's what I'm talking about. She wants to do something, or she doesn't want to disobey him because she doesn't want to hurt his feelings. She doesn't want to, make him upset because she loves him. And it's a hard thing to do because sometimes, especially when all the kids are younger and we're new at parenting, we're so afraid that we immediately punish the kids, and that's it. And when there's no conversation or anything, because we're so afraid they're going to come out and grow up to be, disobedient or whatever, so we're afraid. So we punish them right away. And we forget that, no, we have to talk to them. We have to explain why it's wrong. We have to, because they don't know. Half the things that the kids do wrong, they don't even know why they're wrong. We just say it is wrong because it is, and that's it. And we leave it at that. We have to guide them. And that's so important. So fathers have to guide their children instead of just saying, this is what you do. And so out of that, it's, you're showing by example. And so out of love, they will respect you and, in a sense, obey you. But I don't really like using that word.
Obey?
Yeah.
One of the last things that I like to mention, I think it's really important. You raise your child's expectations, raise her expectations for her life. Tony Robbins says the quality of a person's life is in direct proportion with the expectations of that peer group. So if she's hanging around and in a family, your daughter is hanging around in the family with the dad's not paying attention, he's not there. There's no expectations for her life, so she's going to wander. But if you set expectations for your kids and say, hey, we need to work hard, we need to work as a family, we need to clean up, we need to make our beds, we need to, whatever that is, you raise their expectations for their life and they'll live up to those expectations.
Yeah. And even, as you're just saying that, it reminded me of, as the daughters grow up and to be women, they're growing up to be women in the world, how you treated the mother, how you had respect for her, and even how you had respect for other women in the world. It actually makes a big difference because they're going to take however you are toward other women, they're going to deal with too. They're going to say, oh, okay, my dad was like that, so I guess it's okay. And they're going to be treated wrong. So it's important to pay attention to how, right? Would you agree?
Yes,
okay.
I would.
How we're treating others too, because that does matter. And, my husband's very respectful, and I think that's important for the girls to see, is that he respects people.
So for me, one of the telltale signs that I know we're doing a great job is that our kids want us to continue having babies. right? I do too, but I need help here. It's not, it's a two-way street. One of the
I
streets
feel
is
like I'm always
it's like a
getting
dead
ganged
end.
up on this one.
So
I'm not that young.
I didn't say you were. But, well, my point is they love having kids. They love having a big family. So that's part of how they see the relationships that I have with each one of them. And I think, wow, let's have another baby boy, another baby girl. And I think that's awesome, right? And I think that also lends to, if we talk about the, whether it's the pro-life or pro-choice, I think our daughters see the love that we have for our kids and for our family. They see the way we live and they live by our values, and they're like, there's not even an issue. There's not even a discussion on that, because they see how we love and how we love our families.
Yeah, and that's so important in the family, is that to know that everyone, we have there's 8 of us in the house, and they all know that they're loved. And I think that's so powerful, because that's what we crave, is to be loved, especially by our fathers. It's so important. And, it's never too late. And I always want to tell you that, you could be 65 years old out there. It's never too late, to just love your daughter more.
And what's great about that, the moral of that story that I was just mentioned, is they can see that, they love each other, and the love that we have for one of them permeates to all the rest of them, and they all get along really well, and they all love each other because they all have higher self-esteem, and they all see how we treat each other in the family. So like I keep saying, you need to be the role model, you need to be the leader, you need to be the authority figure. And if I had a nickel for every time one of my children said, life's not fair, that's not fair, I'm being the hero, right? Doing something right in the midst of anguish. You can't drive the car right now. It's too late. You need to go to bed right now. We can't watch that show. These are all things that are difficult and they wear on you. And they can continue asking, can I buy the amp? Can I buy another guitar? You need to be the authority figure. And it's okay to say no, because as they get older, when they become adults, they'll say, wow, dad was right. I hope.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I think it's so important that, and to remember that too, is, to be honest, our family struggles at times. The kids fight
Mm-hmm.
a lot. You know what I mean? I used to pinpoint and say, oh, the kids fight all the time, I can't believe it. But I changed my mindset, and I noticed that they actually get along and they have a better time more often than argument. And I think that's important to remember, is because we're always afraid that the kids are going to turn out, drug addicts, I just not good people. That's our worry as parents. And so in that worry, we sometimes make the wrong choices, or maybe too harsh on the kids. I promise you, just loving them is what they need. And they just need you to be there, to be present, to be a good listener, a good guide in life by your example, lots of prayer, and that's it. I mean, it's a struggle parenting. It's, you're always learning something. We have not got it down. Let me just tell you, we're still learning. And even after this podcast, we'll go and learn something else, because it's never ending. You will never stop learning how to be a good parent.
And that's what my mom said to me when I was growing up. She would always, they parented differently. They would spank a lot, right? And that was their way of showing love, because I think they wanted to show the authority, but in a different way. To me, that doesn't work for me in this situation, because I don't want to show fear to my kids. But they did it. My mom did it out of love. And I knew as I grew up, she wasn't beating me or spanking me because she I don't want to say they hated, but I knew she loved me. I knew she was there for me all the time, because whenever I needed something, I could talk to her. She always helped me out. So I think the parenting is a little different nowadays.
Made for good stories.
Oh, it's great. And you know what? I look back at it and I'm like, I could see why she did that, because I deserved it. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't deserve it, but I just think, like Julia said, just to wrap it up, really, just to be there, just to be present, just to listen to them, and don't always have the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay if you don't always have the answers, but just the fact that they can talk to you and they can get it off their chest, and you just being there will be a big help for them.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Anything else?
No.
We just want to thank you for being part of the Jake and Gino family and sharing part of your day with us. And if you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss or talk about on the podcast, just email Julia at juliabarbaro@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.